Hi, Sue Cave here, one of the authors of Physical French Phonics. In this video, we're going to look at how this resource can help improve French pronunciation. You may know that it can be used in the classroom for this purpose, but this is another way of using Physical French Phonics as an independent language learner so that you become more confident about pronouncing French, and I'm going to show you how it can be used. First, a little bit of information about how it works. So the 26 key French sounds have been identified, and for each sound, an image and an action has been allocated to each one. Any consonants which in French and English are very similar or the same in sound have not been included. So these are the sounds which either don't exist in English or do exist but have a different way of writing them. So these 26 sounds are within the 8 colours that you can see on the screen there, those 6 numbers, days of the week, months of the year, and those 3 particular animals. And all those 26 sounds are within them. Not all the ways of writing them, not all the letter strings that go with each sound, but all the 26 sounds are there. So what Physical French Phonics does is takes each of those groups of vocabulary and looks at them in turn in order to introduce the sounds within them. So what you want to do is take the CD from the Physical French Phonics resource book, or if you have the HTML files, open them. And where it says interactive files 1 to 7, open that folder, and then you will see that there is a folder for colours, numbers, months, days of the week, 3 animals, sounds and actions, counting, nouns. So start with the first one, file 1, colours, and then click on where it says index.html. If you've got the first edition of Physical French Phonics, it won't say .html, but it's the same. It's the same idea. So click on that and you will see it will open up the file in your browser. You don't need to be connected to the internet for it to do that, but that's the way it works. So let's have a look how that is. So the first slide looks like this, and you have there 12 images, and each of those images represents one of the key sounds which are found in those 8 colours. So if you click one of them,
E,
you see you have a native speaker performing the action and making the sound. Let's have another one.
Ö,
And one more.
U.
So the idea is you click the image, watch the native speaker performing the action and the sound, and you do likewise. The idea of the action is to give you further support in helping you memorize the sound. So by doing the action, it's a kinesthetic way of learning. Hopefully it will help you to recall that sound and also seeing the image as well. So you work through all those 12 sounds, repeating them as much as you feel you need to become familiar with them. If you would like further explanation of what the action is, on resource 4 in the Physical French Phonics resource book, you'll find a short description, as you can see there, of each action. So now move on to slide 2, and let's have a look what that one looks like. So you see you've got the 12 images again, but this time when you click them,
En. O. G.
you've just got the sound, you haven't got the video. So the idea is that you think to yourself, right, now what was the action for that one? Oh yeah, pretend I'm eating an apple. Can I remember what the sound is? You say it to yourself or say it out aloud, and then you check.
A.
And if you got it wrong or you can't quite remember what the action was, you can always go back to slide 1 again and check. And you go through each of the 12 until you feel reasonably confident that you can see the image and make the sound, doing the action for support if you need it. So then you move on to slide 3, and there you can see are those 8 colours that have all those sounds within them. And what we're going to do now is click one of the colours, and you will see the native speaker performing the actions for each of the colours and blending them together. And you're going to follow the lead of this speaker. Let's have a look. So let's choose one. Let's choose red, for example.
R. Rouge. Rouge.
So there you heard and saw 3 sounds being said and the action being performed, and then those 3 sounds being blended to create the word red. Rouge. Rouge. So the idea is that you follow and do exactly the same, and then you say aloud the word. Let's have a look at another one.
O. R. Ange. Orange.
And one more.
Jaune. Jaune.
So you go through each one until you feel confident about saying the word for each colour. Then you move down to slide 4. And now on slide 4, we're going to start getting acquainted with which letters make those individual sounds. You'll see next to each image there is often more than one set of letters, but you'll see that certain ones are highlighted, and those are the ones that we're going to find in the spellings of the colours. The other possibilities are letter strings which can make that sound, but the ones initially we're going to concentrate on are the highlighted ones, because those are the ones that you find in the colours. So if you've forgotten what the sound is, you can click it.
Oh.
And then you can have a look at which letter is making that sound. Maybe you feel confident to say the sound now before you check.
Ou.
And you can start thinking about how you're going to recall which letters make that sound. So to give you further practice in this, in the resource book, resources 16 and 15, which look like this, You can print them out if you like, double-sided. And on one side you have the image with the letter strings, and on the other side you just have the letter strings. So that these cards here are the back of these cards here. So the idea is, first of all, working on this side, letters only, underline the letters which are in the colours, and then test yourself by looking at the letters and thinking, now, which sound was it for EU? Say it to yourself and then turn over the card and check by looking at the image to see if you are correct. Okay, the next stage now is to see if you can predict how to spell each colour using the associated images and letters. So you're going to move on now to slide 5. Let's have a look what that looks like. So on slide 5, you have the colours, and then above each one here, you can see that you've got the images which help you recall each of the sounds in turn in that word. So for example, for grey, it's g, e, blended, gris. So what you're going to do, maybe using a piece of paper and a pen would be useful for this, is to think, right, so it's going to be a b and a l first in bleu. Those, remember, are consonants which are more or less the same as English, so they don't have an image for them. So you write down on your piece of paper BL, and then you think, now, what were the letters I've just learned that make the sound? Now, was it EU? And then you click on here.
Bleu.
And you see if you are correct. Same here. Ooh. J. And then you click on here.
Rouge.
Now, you will notice that there is an E on the end of this word, which is in whitey grey colour. And this tells you that this is a silent letter. This is a feature of French, that many of the final consonants in French and the letter E are usually silent in a word. So if you look at there, you've got v, e. You're probably expecting it to be, if you've not seen the word before, V-E-R, but if you click it,
Vert.
You see that there is a T there. It's a silent T, it's a silent consonant, and it's greyed out. Have a look at gris. You might be expecting it to be a G for the G, an R for the H, an I for the E.
Gris.
But when you see the spelling, you see that there is also a final silent consonant on the end, S. So you have a go at each one at spelling them, noting the silent letters. So to develop your understanding of silent letters in French, on resource 2, you will see this in the resource book. And this is laid out to explain to you how silent letter rules work in French. So most consonants at the end of French words are usually silent. So if you see a consonant, it's probably going to be silent, although you have to be careful, CRFL, with these final consonants, as sometimes they can be sounded and sometimes not, and you just need to learn when you do and when you don't for those consonants. But if you look here at the colour adjectives that we've been learning, you've got a silent T on vert, a silent T on violet, a silent S on gris. Equally, the final E is usually silent, so you've got a silent E on rouge and orange. We'll come back to this bottom red box later. So now you can move on to slide 6, and now you're going to see the whole word sounded out again with the spelling underneath. Let's have a look what that looks like. So let's try clicking the first one.
B, L, E, bleu.
So there you can see each sound being sounded out with the action and the spelling appearing below. Let's look at one more.
V, I, O, L, E, violet.
Okay, so you can go through each one, copying as you go along, or maybe trying to see if you can say it and write it before you click on here to check. So once you get to the end of the colours file, then you can do the same for the numbers, the months of the year, the days of the week, and those three animals we saw earlier. And by the time you get to the end of file 5, you will have covered all the 26 sounds. File 6, called Sounds, Actions and Spelling, is a way to review everything that you have done so far. So it looks like this. On slide 1, you click any of those images. You've got all 26 there, and you will see a video clip of the action and sound. And here you've just got the sound when you click it, and you can practice looking at the graphemes, and which are the letter strings, and seeing if you can recall the sound. So file 7, that's the final file, is to practice liaison. Now, liaison is another feature of French, which is when one word gets linked to another, and it sounds as if two words are becoming one. And this happens because in certain circumstances, silent letters are sounded. And if you click on these files and click on file slides 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, you will hear the numbers 1 to 10 being used to count a noun beginning with a consonant, a feminine noun beginning with a consonant, a noun beginning with an H, and all H's are silent in French, and a noun beginning with a vowel. And this part of the silent letter chart that we looked at before, which we skipped over, explains a little bit about this, that D, N, S, T, X and Z can be sounded when followed by a vowel. So you can click on this and you will hear how those silent letters on the ends of those numbers are now being sounded before H, because H is silent, so then it's being sounded before a vowel because the next letter is O, and hear how those numbers are being, the ends of those silent letters are being sounded before a vowel. But before these nouns which begin with a consonant, the silent letters are silent. So liaison has many complicated rules, and it's not something that Physical French Phonics goes into in detail. However, the idea is to make you aware that when you hear French, you will often hear two words sounding as one. Because here you say des chiens, two separate words, very distinct. But here, because that S is before this vowel here, it's making the buzzy B sound, and now it's des éléphants, which sort of sounds like one word, doesn't it? If you say it is, that's c'est, But if you say it is a, you're going to sound that T because the next letter is a vowel. So now it becomes set. So Physical French Phonics sets you off on the journey of discovering when and how to use liaison. So let's put this into practice, this knowledge into practice a little now, and have a go at decoding this word, which may be unfamiliar to you or may be familiar, but one about which you are not very confident about saying. And let's think about how we can use this knowledge about sounds and letters in French to decode it with a high degree of accuracy. There are 4 steps I suggest you go through when you're looking at a word you've not seen before or not sure how to pronounce. And you can find this handout on my website, cavelanguages.co.uk, on the French Phonics page. So step 1 is silent letters. It's reminding you that look at the word and are there any silent letters in this word? So at the end, we've got the E on this word and the E on this word. So I've graded them out there thinking, right, those are silent. I mustn't pronounce those. The second thing to do is look at strings of vowels, strings of consonants, or strings of vowels and consonants, because inevitably they will make a particular sound. And I've put the key ones there for you. So I'm looking at the word here and I see that I've got 2 vowels together, O and a U. And O and a U makes the oo sound, the chimpanzee oo sound. Then I've got a vowel and 2 consonants, and the vowel and the 2 consonants make the shot butter sound Y. Okay, so I've identified the silent letters, I've identified any letter strings. The third thing to look at are E's by themselves, because as you can see there, with or without accents, they make a possible one of 3 sounds. So the E in this word here by itself is before a single consonant, and E before one consonant makes the U sound. So I know that that E is going to make an U sound. And then the 4th step is to look and see if there are any vowels followed by an N or an M. Vowels followed by N or M make these nasal sounds. These nasal sounds are sounds where the air comes down your nose and through your mouth at the same time. This is not these nasal sounds, it's not something we have in English, for example. So yes, we have an E followed by an N there, a vowel followed by an N. However, be aware that if after the N or M there is another vowel, you will not be making that E join with that N to make a nasal sound. So we've already established anyway that because there's one consonant after, it's going to be but that is worth bearing in mind, that normally a vowel with an N or an M will make a nasal sound, but not if after the N or an M there is a vowel. So now all I'm left with are N, which is going to make a sound like English. The G is going to make the G sound, and the R is going to make the H sound. So to pronounce this, and the syllable U is going to make the U sound. So N is the only letter which is like it is in English. So we've got une, g, gren, grenouille, une grenouille. And that sounds out the word for a frog, une grenouille. So there's one final resource I'd like to point out which will help you, particularly if you are using a bilingual dictionary. In a bilingual dictionary, you've probably noticed that often in square brackets or slanting lines, there is an alphabet which is called the IPA, the International Phonetic Alphabet, and that is there to show you how to pronounce the word. But if you are not familiar with this phonetic alphabet, it doesn't really help. However, in Physical French Phonics on Resource 3, each of the images and each of the sounds has been allocated which letter it is in the phonetic alphabet. So for example, if you've got this for frog, because this is in the phonetic alphabet how frog is written, you can use this chart to decode it. So a G is the gorilla sound. Now you can see it. This looks like an upside down R is the sound. The U is the tennis player sound. The N, there isn't anything because that's like English. This is the chimpanzee sound and this is the Y sound. So if you sound it out, it's une grenouille. Une grenouille. There is also a file on the CD which helps with this. So in file 6 on slide 4, you have all the images again, but this time with the letter in the phonetic alphabet which is associated with it, and you can click on any image and it will give you the sound for it. So there you are. I hope that you have found that useful. If you want to contact me about anything regarding Physical French Phonics, you can see my Cave Languages email address there. I do post on Twitter about phonics, and that is my Twitter handle there. If you want to find out more about Physical French Phonics, you can see there is a website and Facebook page, and I also put posts on Instagram. And as I mentioned before, that handout for the 4 steps for pronouncing a word is on the Cave Languages website. And finally, if you haven't got your own copy of Physical French Phonics, you can purchase it from Brilliant Publications. Thank you.